Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Steelers Night Shift, the Steelers Now Steelers Night Shift. I'm your host, Joe Morrison, and today we have our esteemed editor, don't call him chief, Mr. Alan Saunders. Alan, how are we doing today, sir?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Good deal. Well, we're kind of back where we were 2 weeks ago, where the vibes are all over the place. Steelers by all accounts, went into Los Angeles. And despite all the Steeler fans out there that we saw in the broadcast, did not put up a good
ton of Steelers fans.
Oh, yeah.
75% maybe. It was insane.
Oh, absolutely. But unfortunately, Pittsburgh did not treat it like a home game. They kind of, by all accounts, laid an egg for the most part. Lost 25-10. They dropped to 5-4, only one game ahead of the Baltimore Ravens, who have a pulse, even if Lamar Jackson, I don't know what's going on with him now, but apparently missed practice today. So, but by all accounts, there is still time in the season for things to turn around. Now that you kind of taking a step back, what was the vibe like in the locker room so far this week, and what are your expectations?
Normal. I don't think this is, win and lose games over the course of a season. You're going to have different ways you win and lose those games. You're going to have bad performances. You're going to have unlucky performances. I honestly feel like this game was a little bit of both. Aaron Rodgers did not play well, no question about that. Several other random plays didn't go their way. I don't get the sense that this loss to them is any more or less frustrating than any other. Yeah, I mean, it's the world of the Steelers is nothing like the world of the fans, who are very angry and upset and throwing things at the walls and breaking things. And I think the team is very much on an even keel right now.
Oh, absolutely. And I can concur that the Twitter world, at least, is all over the place. I got into a few little debates throughout the week or early week, and probably lost some followers along the way. But that's okay. Now everybody's gonna like the way you think or have what you have to say. So, but with that being said, it's a new week, and if there's ever a defense that the Steelers could bounce back against, it is at home against the Cincinnati Bengals, who may be down to Trey Hendrickson as well.
Will be. Zach Taylor said today, doesn't think he's going to play. Steelers still had a guy out there with a 91 on it at practice, but I don't think he's going to play. I'm not worried about the Bengals defense, though. I mean, Bengals defense is awful. But it's that Cincinnati offense that has probably got Mike Tomlin working some late hours. He works a lot of hours. I don't know if people know that or not, but he's always there before I get there, and he's always there when I leave. I can't even fathom a game plan that I think might work for the Steelers defense against the Bengals offense.
No, certainly I think the benefit of this week will be it won't be on Thursday night, so they're not going to have to cram a bunch of game planning in just a couple of days worth of practice. That's assuming they practice all 3 days, because obviously that Monday is usually like the player's day off on a normal week and the short week. So I think the defense is going to perform better, but that doesn't mean I'm expecting the Bengals offense not to produce something. So, but yeah, I mean, hey, we've seen a lot of things happen this football season already, and I think with that being said, as we're in the week, while we're talking defense, Steelers got some new acquisitions this week. They signed Asante Samuel to the practice squad. Asante Samuel Jr. specifically, not to be confused with his dad, who has a little bit of a viral tweet going around that people think the actual active player said. So, Omar Khan, artist, we appreciate you, Mr. Khan, giving us your feedback and questions. He is asking you, how did he look today, Mr. Samuel?
Well, I mean, all I can really talk about is drills. He looked fast, um, changed direction good. I mean, like I didn't see any difference between him and the conditioning level of the guys that have been playing all year. He looked about the same. Really, where the rubber will meet the road here is how he handles contact. You know, you can't simulate that. You're not training for that when you're not on an NFL team. I bet he's going to be pretty darn sore tomorrow. And then we'll see, and then we'll see where the things go from there. And they're not even really doing a ton of tackling in practice right now, so um, it's going to be really hard to get him into game shape at this point in the year. I think it probably will take some time before they feel good about him playing. But much like the Kyle Duggar situation, if Darius Slay doesn't play, there's nobody else. Like he's at worst the fourth best cornerback available to them, assuming Ramsey's going to stay at safety, which seems like it's the case. So he'll if Slay can't play, he's going to dress. But I don't think they're going to want to play him for a couple weeks, just so he can get used to the sort of physical toll of the season and getting back into, you know, the process of rehab and getting your body ready to go. You know, like that's all a buildup that all these guys started in OTAs in June that now he's trying to start on November 12th. That's going to be pretty difficult.
Yes, and it's funny you mentioned, you know, the Slay aspect. One guy I thought who performed really well Sunday that maybe is going to give a little confidence in easing Asante Samuel in was James Pierre. Um, you know, I think he played really well. And Major Headache has a comment here. While he mentioned Samuels in the nickel spot, Eccles is better outside hip turning and driving upfield and inside with the quick routes. Um, I do get the sense that Eccles is probably going to be the slot guy until maybe Samuels does get active, but I think James Pierre has given them that confidence on the outside as well.
I mean, Asante Samuel has mostly played outside corner in his career. He's not played a lot of slot. They started him at outside corner. They started him working there. Um, he can play in the slot. I don't know that he can tackle well enough to be an early down slot. I mean, a third down nickel, like when the Steelers had Mike Hilton and they would bring in Cam Sutton on third down. Yeah, I think he can do that. I don't think you want him out there on 1st and 10 in the slot. He's not a very good tackler. He's not a big guy. He's just a thin, shorter corner. I don't think that's where you're going to get the best out of him. So to me, he's like an inside-outside guy, very much in the same mold as Cam Sutton. I think you can use him a lot of the same ways that the Steelers did, but I don't think he's an early down slot option. So if you're building the secondary, I don't think that could be the plan.
And Branson Sloppy Seconds, I love that name. He makes me giggle every time. This would be completely speculation unless you've asked him directly, because it's one of the reasons Asante Samuel just now got into an active roster. He had off-season procedure. He asked, do you think Asante's tackling issues in his career could have had anything to do with that stinger that he said that he's been dealing with most of his career?
Yeah, so he's had chronic stingers throughout his career. He didn't make an excuse for it, but like clearly that's something that could have been affecting his tackling. Stingers are extraordinarily painful, to the point that he had a piece of his neck removed to get rid of them. And this is a surgery that he didn't have to have. Like he could have kept playing without it, but he chose to reduce the risk of those stinger injuries recurring. And yeah, it would be crazy for it to not have affected him. He's still a little guy, though. He's still just not a player that I'm envisioning getting in the hole with Derrick Henry and winning. Like that's just not, not who he is.
He's not going to be like Spillane Train.
He's not even going to be Mike Hilton. Like if that's what you're looking for, you're not going to get it. I think he can cover though, and I think you can put him in lots of different coverage situations that are advantageous. I think he can play man, which probably not a lot of the rest of the Steelers corners can against almost anybody his size. I don't want to man him against T. Higgins, but anybody, like, I think he could go play man against Jamar Chase. Maybe not this week, but like in theory, I think that's a matchup. As long as there's safety help, you don't feel terrible about the idea of going and doing. And I think that's the real draw in terms of, like, if you get his tackling up to mediocre, great. Like, because it's the coverage that's really the reason he was a second round pick and that you would want him.
Yeah, and once he did join the Steelers, you mentioned this the second round pick and the pedigree. I mean, anytime there's any type of NFL family ties, I feel like the Steelers are just licking their chops. So
they liked him coming out of Florida State. It was not really a big surprise. He was on my kind of short list that draft year, and I thought there was a chance that he could have ended up here. So yeah, definitely. Anytime you got that NFL bloodline, the Steelers seem to love those. But it was a good position fit for them too, if you remember. I mean, they were certainly could have used a corner there. Ended up not taking one in that draft, but didn't have a lot of success going forward at that position. Ended up drafting Joey Porter 2 years later.
The Schoolhouse Rocks, well, we're kind of talking secondary still. He asked an interesting question. We've already seen one defender in the back end kind of make a little bit of a change. He says, could you see a scenario where Slay plays some safety, maybe in the future?
In an emergency, maybe. Not because you want him to. I mean, the Steelers don't. I mean, I guess you could. Here's the thing. The way the Steelers play defense, for the most part, your safeties are going to be center field guys or players in the box. Obviously, he can't be a player in the box. He can't tackle a corner. Could he be a center field safety? Yeah. From the coverage standpoint, I think it would be very similar to what you saw when Patrick Peterson moved back there. The coverage was fine. The problem is that center field safety has to be that guy who comes flying up from 10 or 15 yards up from off the ball and is the hero tackler, last line of defense, who comes in and saves the day when every other guy in the run game gets blocked. And I don't really think you want him in that role. Like, that's just not, again, he could do the coverage part of the job. And that's not a very run heavy role, but what there is there, I just don't think he would be very good at. I think it would go about as well as Patrick Peterson's safety went, which was like they got by because it was an emergency, but it wasn't anything that like anybody was dying to do.
Yeah, I do remember Patrick Peterson. He did get one interception. That was interesting. He was on that Cincinnati.
I mean, I think corners who move to safety generally, the whole picture of the game changes when you stand there staring at the quarterback. I think a lot of those guys end up getting a lot of interceptions. The problem is the physical nature of the position. You're in the inside of the defense. You have bigger guys blocking you, and you have more difficult tackling assignments. And can you handle that?
All right. Well, now that we've talked a little defense, there's a couple little quarterback questions in here, ranging from everywhere. But Omar Khan, we're going to address this one first because I've seen it on Twitter, and let's just go ahead and break the Rudy fans' hearts. Omar Khan says, I understand I'm in the minority here with my pal Douglas and James Chamberlain, probably too. But I would like to see Rudy get some looks as quarterback one. And unless Rodgers' arm is falling off and he can't throw, I don't see him getting that nod. I mean, if Tomlin watched Ben at the end of 2020, just the knees and elbow give out, I don't think it's going to, don't bet on that.
Yeah, I don't foresee, Rodgers would have to play very poorly for a very long time before that was even remotely a consideration. I do think, much to the consternation of a certain percentage of the fan base, that it would in fact be Rudolph and not Will Howard if they decided at some point to get away from Rodgers, or if Rodgers were to get hurt. I know I talked a lot about Howard on Morning Rush this morning, so I don't want to reiterate all that. But I mean, yeah, I think there's a chance Rudolph would play if Rodgers gets hurt, or I don't. He's gonna have a really long leash. I can't imagine. I mean, it'd take 2 or 3 more games like the last one before I think they'd even consider making a change of quarterback.
And I think by then, if it was that bad, I think your season's pretty much over. Like at that point, you'd be looking at what, 3 more losses? That's what,
Yeah, I guess that's
5 and 7.
true. They would almost have to have Rodgers play that badly and win some of them. I do think if their season was out and out, just over, just like talking about playing hopeless games, that would be the way they would maybe try to get Howard involved. But I mean, Mike Tomlin's played what, 2 of those in his entire NFL career. I'll believe that happening when I see it.
Yeah, one of them was 2013. The other one, I can't think off the top of my head. I guess it would have been not 2009 because they were still in it. Yeah, yeah, 2012. Yeah, 2012. I'm sorry, not 2013. That was against the Browns because they had just lost to the Bengals the week before. I can't think of that last one though. Huh? It'll come to me eventually. um, James kind of has some more feedback about Rodgers. He says Rodgers seems to be a little more skittish as the season progresses, like he's hearing footsteps and dumping the ball a little quicker than necessary in more and more situations. And I think you saw a little bit of that on Sunday because I mean the Chargers defense was really good, and they knew it was going to be really good. They have really good set of pass rushers. Um, and it does kind of make me wonder how much faith does he have in that young offensive line, though they are playing better than I think what a lot of us expected. He did look a little unsure, but I think some of that too was the receivers weren't getting open. He was having to hold on to the ball, and when he was holding on to the ball, he was getting hit.
I disagree with this take. I think he needs to get rid of the ball faster. It's not worth it to get hit and to take he's taking too many sacks, too much negativity's happen. Like, just if the guys aren't there, just throw it. Like that, like every single one of his sacks over the last couple games, I feel like there's been a place where you can give a guy a chance to make a play. And maybe he doesn't make it every time, but I mean, I think that's preferable. Rodgers has done nothing in terms of extending the pocket, really. He's not, but he's tried to step up and he hasn't even been able to do that. I think he's got to get rid of it. I agree with the skittishness. There's a difference between skittishness and throwing the ball too quickly. He has looked skittish and uncomfortable, and that's not what you want. But I think throwing the ball faster is a better idea. I would like him to see him get rid of it quicker. Even if they're not all completions, I think that's still a win for him.
Yeah, and it was really interesting. I really didn't feel like they had a whole lot of quick game until it was like out of reach, and that's when you saw Roman Wilson score that touchdown. I'm kind of wondering if it was just the looks of the Chargers were not going to allow any type of quick game whatsoever, or if it was just maybe he doesn't have as much faith in those receivers as you would like, because you got to think Calvin Austin hasn't played in a few weeks. Roman Wilson was in a doghouse because of the Colts game fumble. So I'm wondering if maybe he has to kind of get some faith back for some of those guys, which would be very unfortunate if that's the case. Mel here, he asks, is there any chance Peppers is practicing? They changed coverages with Ramsey back to corner. Was he? I thought he was fully practicing today. Peppers was.
He did, yeah, full practice today. No, I don't think Peppers is a free safety, so I don't think Peppers really means anything for Ramsey.
And I think Ramsey's doing, by all accounts, really
And I
well.
think they keep Ramsey there anyway. I don't think they want to move Ramsey back to corner. They would if they had to, but I don't think they want to. And if they did move Ramsey, it would be Chuck Clark playing free safety, not Peppers.
And I will say, you kind of, when you were talking about the center field position of that safety role he's taking, his closing in has gone well, especially tackling. You saw it against the Colts. You saw it this past week too. I mean, multiple instances. I think we need to give Ramsey a lot of kudos that he just a lot of corners who have done it so successfully, they probably don't want to change positions, and he's done it seemingly without complaints, and he's done really well. Major headache while we were kind of talking about offensive line there. You look like you're kind of peeking over the fence there with this one. Right
Oh,
side of the line
Wilson
has been
action.
great. Oh yeah, he says Fatonu had a few beats, but it's his fourth, fifth game. Left side is a problem. Isaac has saved Broderick Jones from getting beat inside a lot of times. That wasn't there Sunday. And I will say with Sam Alu, it's always good to have a veteran right next to you to kind of help you with that. Because no, I think Major Headache is right. Broderick Jones has benefited tremendously from having a veteran like Sayamalu. So they're going to have to. He was a partial participant today. Sayamalu was, so we'll see if he's back this week. But if not, they're going to need to really.
I think he'll be back. I expect him to be back. And yeah, I don't think Broderick has played poorly. I think he's played better than he did last year on the whole, but there are still too many, and especially too many fast losses that continue to be a problem. And I think Fatanu didn't have a great game against the Chargers, but on the whole has probably been better this season, which I am not surprised by. I think he was the more polished player coming out of college. And I know he was the more polished player coming out of college. And although Broderick's a crazy athlete, I still think there's a lot of room to grow in his game. That doesn't mean you should give up on it happening. But he's still very much, I think, fairly raw in pass protection. His hands, he lets guys get too close to his chest all the time. Is sort of the big thing that stands out. His footwork's generally pretty good. Which again was always why the left tackle, right tackle thing for me was just a big red herring, because the hands are the same. It's the feet that are different. And you put that on the blind side of an aging quarterback who doesn't move that well, it causes problems. And I don't think that's been entirely unexpected, but I think they've committed to riding through those problems and see where they get to on the other side.
Yes, and the good news is all of that's very coachable, and I feel like Broderick Jones wants to be great, and I believe that he will get better. And with that being said, while we're kind of talking about the positives, everything, the big talk this week has been with everyone up in arms. You have the fire Tomlin people coming in, and everyone's saying, "Why don't Steelers just tank?" And Branson sloppy seconds has another little question, and back over the fence again. It says, "What do you think the positives we could take away from us going to the playoffs and losing the second round?" My son asked me why it wouldn't be better to tank, and he didn't like my answers. And Branson, I think you and I are probably on the same wavelength, and I'm sure Alan is too. Good teams don't go into a season and say, or good franchises rather, and go in and say, we're just gonna tank, go get a draft position. The shelf life for a coach and a player is already short as it is. Like, it's going to be very difficult to convince those guys, hey, let's do this. I mean, when Minka got traded from Miami, one of the reasons that they want out is because that's what the owner wanted to do. And he wasn't on board with that. So he left. I mean, it's just not realistic. And there's no guarantee that you will get the results of like a Detroit Lions or even just like what could just be a 1-year thing with the Washington Commanders by quote unquote tanking.
Yeah, I mean, here's the problem is that the Steelers have a good team. They don't have a great team. They have a good team. It's really hard to make a good team be bad without a lot of the pieces that you would need to play well on the other side of you trying to tank, performing really poorly. They just could not be that bad. And so the only way they can be that bad is if you have guys that you want, guys like Broderick Jones, who you want and badly need to be a part of the future solution, playing horribly. Like, that's the only way you can get there. And so, or you can sabotage your own chances. And like the Steelers could have just gone into the season with, I don't know, Skylar Thompson, a quarterback or whatever, and been like, okay, we're just going to try. But even remember, they made it to 500 with Duck and Mason. Like, you have to be really, really bad. And the things that you have to do to be that bad are going to stay with you. And this is why bad teams, there are so many teams in the NFL that even though they draft at the top of the draft year after year after year, are still bad. Like the Cleveland Browns, the New York Jets, like for 50 years, the Detroit Lions before they figured it out, the Arizona Cardinals, like the Carolina Panthers. These are teams that are littered with high draft picks, and their periods of being good are few and far between. That like, it's not a sustainable way to operate. Now, could you take a year where maybe you just get really unlucky? Maybe just things don't go your way. I think you can look in hindsight at that 2019 team and say, maybe the Steelers shouldn't have traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Maybe they should have just let that team be a little bit worse and taken that one high first round pick after you deal with the blow of not just Ben Roethlisberger getting injured. Half the freaking offense was injured on that team. When we play our little game on Afternoon Drive and we try to name obscure Steelers, best mining territory for that is guys on the 2019 offense. I mean, who doesn't have fond memories of Nick Vannett and Tony Brooks James and Deion Kane and their Steelers tenure? Like that's who Duck was. You had Duck handing the ball off to Tony Brooks James and throwing to Deion Kane and Nick Vannett, and they still were not bad. Like that. Like, you got to be really bad to be bad, and it's just they're not in a starting point where tanking is realistic.
And I can't stress enough Alan's point. Bad teams stay bad for a reason, and it's because they do crap like that. The Steelers got their taste of success, found their formula in the 70s. They don't want to go back to that. Yeah. They don't want to go back to pre-merger. Like, and let's be real. If the Steelers were actively tanking, it would piss off the fan base anyways.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, nobody actually wants to see that happen. I mean, I understand frustration with the status quo, but that is a far, far worse alternative. And it's not. And the other thing is that like we should know that it's not required. Like the Chiefs never tanked. The Ravens never tanked. The 49ers never tanked. The Eagles never tanked. Like you don't need to do it to build a good team. And so, I mean, it's just it's frustration causing irrational thought.
And it's funny, like when I think about like the 49ers, and some people are going to say, well, they had Trey Lance, and trade stuff aside, Jimmy Garoppolo like broke his ankle like twice in 2 years, and they almost did it again in 2022 if not for Brock Purdy just coming out of nowhere. So it really frustrates me when I see the tank talk, but I get it. It sounds good. It sounds like, okay, we can go get a top quarterback, blah 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 blah, but it's just never a guarantee. All right, on a positive note, Major Headache is talking up a guy that has really, really played well. Keanu Benton, he's greatly improved. He believes he's still better at 3 tech than trying to be a 2-gap nose. But, man, Keanu Benton has been on fire these past few weeks.
Well, he's both. He plays 3 tech and he plays nose. In the base defense, you have a 3 tech and a 5 tech, but both of those are both 2-gap positions. And so It is a little bit easier to double team the nose than the end and the 3-4, but not a lot. Like if you have one guy who can't do it, you can pick on him on the end just as easily as you can pick on him at the nose. And so it's not that like, and especially now they don't really play it 5-3-5 very much. Mostly they're playing 4-I-0 or sorry 5-1-5-0-5. It's mostly like 4-I. It's not like there's not really a big difference between the job of the nose tackle and the job of a 4-I in a what is basically a 5-2 front. When they go to Okie or what they still call it Okie, but it's not really an Okie 3-4 anymore. It's mostly a 5-2. And so there's very little difference between the jobs of those three defensive tackles. He could be better against the run, but I don't think it matters really where they play him. I think the idea of Y.A. Black is when someday down the road you no longer have a Cam Hayward, then maybe in a couple of years, Black has developed to the point where he can be that guy who's on the second tier of linemen, but is also your starting nose tackle, sort of like what Tyson Alualu was when he was here, where he was a starting nose tackle, but when they went nickel, it was just Hayward and Tuitt, right? So I think the idea there is going forward, you kind of have the same thing where you'll have Benton and Harmon as the two, and then you could play Black at the nose. Black isn't. He's a better run defender, but I mean, they're not that different in size. I mean, he's a big guy, but they're all big guys.
No, certainly, yeah. It's been very fun. I think that and hey, Y.A. Black, he had a really good game this past week too.
He did.
So I think they got themselves a couple really good young guys there. And folks, we're approaching the end. I'm going to Mr. Portersburg. He got two names out there that we can't go a week without talking about quarterbacks in the NFL draft because that's what we do. It's what we take care of and what we watch, we write about. He has two names. Could Darian Mensah be the Steelers quarterback next year? And then he asks about thoughts on Sorsby. And Mensah, my personal opinion, he's going to go back to college, especially with the era of NIL. There's not going to be as much of a rush to go into the NFL to get your payday. Not to say that's the only reason that someone want to go to the NFL, but let's be real. The money in college is now there. Sorsby, our analyst Derek Bell has been posting about him, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a whole lot about him, but from the things Derek has posted, it looks nice for sure.
Yeah, he had. I think he's having a good year with Cincinnati. He really cut down the interceptions. That was the thing. He threw like 7 picks last year. I think he has 2 or 3 this year. He's a taller guy than some of the other prospects. Sort of a more traditional quarterback body. I don't think he's like exciting in like an athletic standpoint, but he just seems like a high level processor for the for sort of his age. He will come out, I think. He does have a year to go back if he wants it, but I expect him to come out. Mensah, I do not expect to come out, although I think he would be the better prospect. He's really, to me, shown like some true dual threat ability in addition to being a pretty good passer and a really smart guy, which is very ironic for his last name. But he got into Duke, so you knew that anyway. But I think everything I've been told is that people in the NFL expect Mensah to go back. I've not heard that about Sorsby. And I think I can't imagine this. Like, he's probably like a day 2 pick. And I can't imagine the Steelers waiting that long. I just, maybe they will. And if I'm in day 2, I think I'd rather have Aller or Beck probably than Sorsby. So, I mean, he feels very much like a consolation prize at quarterback to me.
Yep. And it's funny because you and I talked a couple weeks ago that some of those day 2 projected guys end up being a first round pick. So,
Oh, it wouldn't surprise
yeah,
me at all if we see some of those guys. I mean, maybe not Beck or Aller, because I think they've had Aller obviously with the injury, but I mean, Beck's had so many high profile opportunities already. But maybe a guy like John Mateer, who's probably in the second round, like he could go in the first round. That wouldn't surprise me at all. To me, there is no such thing as a second round quarterback grade anymore. If you've given him a second round grade, that means he's going in the first.
you just had to rub in the Carson Beck part on me, didn't you? You just had to.
I mean, yeah, I think there's some talent there. I don't know. There's a lot of issues.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not the only one who believed him. Our very own Omar Khan artist, he and I were hyping him up, and then, like you said, just those big
Braden
profile
Fehoko, when
moments.
we had him on Afternoon Drive,
Oh
was
yeah.
I think to me, again, much like talking about Sorsby, too many interceptions. I mean, I think interceptions are going to multiply when you get to the NFL. If you're talking about guys that have double-digit interceptions in college, that's a real hard sell for me.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Well, it ain't the end of the world, just the end of the night. Oh, sorry, guys, my singing is not there, but it is the end of the nights. It is the end of the shift. We appreciate all you guys joining in and giving us some good questions today. Talked a lot about Asante Samuel. Talked about the defense, little quarterbacks, and even some quarterback draft talk. We love it. So, guys, we appreciate everyone joining the Steelers Night Shift. I'm your host, Joe Morrison. You can find me at Joby Football, Jobey Football. You guys all know Mr. Saunders, but just in case you popped over because you saw us streaming and you don't know where to find him, where can they find you, sir?
Hey, Saunders _PGH on social media, and SteelersNow.com is where you can find my written work.
Excellent. And don't forget to check out the Morning Rush, the Afternoon Drive, and every Wednesday.
And we'll have our FM Plus subscribers only live stream next Monday. So it'll be sort of like this, but with me and Smitty and DB and just us subscribers in the chat. So that'll be cool.
Absolutely. And don't forget about Pelusi's Pick'em tomorrow. And we appreciate everyone joining. And don't forget to punch in early next week if you want to get some questions ahead of time. And everyone have a good night.